Hi, I'm ZimZoe, and today's video is going to be a bit of a mashup because it starts with the Glitz of Gatsby. Though I've already got the full show on my channel, so I only recorded 2 songs from it because it was being done with different people. And I thought if I film the whole show again, not only do I already have one version on there, but it means I won't have enough room for some of the other shows later on in the week. Then it's going to cut to me talking about the last evening's entertainment because I didn't take my camera with me, and I really wish I had because something happened and I needed to tell you about it, so that's what it's going to be. And then it's some footage from the last day, because on the last day we thought instead of going down to the train station and waiting there for however long it was going to be, might as well wait in the park. So did a few things there. And also caught a bit of a show for like the kids. I think it was like Sparky's break dancing or something like that. And although it's definitely for the kids, I thought I might as well film it because I think you guys might like it. But it's going to be mainly bits and pieces today, which is why it's a bit of a mashup. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now and let you enjoy the video.
And now, it's showtime.
Welcome to the speakeasy where our fellas are always breezy. Our walls are beautiful doors, and the junk juice is always flowing. If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go with fashion six? Putting on the rinse. Different types of wear a day, compact stripes and cutaway, perfect fits. Putting on the rinse. Putting on the rinse. Dress up like $1 million trooper, trying hard to look like Gary Cooper. Come, let's mix, we're rocking bodies, watch with sticks around the rappers in their midst. Putting on the race. Putting on the race. Fashion six, putting on the rinse. Different types of wear a day, pants with stripes and cutaway, perfect fits. Putting on the rinse. That's exciting. Fashion six, put it on the wrist.
Woo!
Coocher. She was the Lord Hoochie Coocher. She was the roughest, toughest kind of tail. But Dicky had a heart as big as a whale. Hidey, 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 hide.
Hidey, 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 hide.
Horty, 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 ho.
Horty, 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 ho.
Heedy, 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 heedy.
Heedy, 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 heedy.
Hidey, 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 ho.
Hidey, 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 ho. She messed around with a bloke named Sparky. She loved him while he was smoking. He took her down to Chinatown and he showed her around the place to turn around. Hidey, 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 hide.
Hidey, 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 hide.
Hoody, 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 ho.
Horty, 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 ho.
Heedy, 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 heedy.
Heedy, 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 heedy.
Hidey, 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 ho.
Hidey, 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 ho.
Okay, Brynowen, we're gonna blow the roof off this place. Ladies, you're with me. Will you sing with me? I
Yes!
said, will you sing with me?
Yes!
Not bad. What about you, fellas? Will you sing with me? I said, fellas, will you sing with me? Yeah.
Somehow, ladies, I think we got this one. Let's see you clap, 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 clap.
Hidey, 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 hidey.
Hidey, 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 hidey. Oh, no, 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 no.
Hidey, 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 ho. Hidey, 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 hidey.
Hidey, 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 hidey. Oh, no, 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 no.
Hidey, 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 ho. Skiddy-doo, 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 skiddy-doo.
Skiddy boom, skiddy boom, skiddy diddly boom, skiddy boom, skiddy boom, skiddy diddly boom.
Skiddy-doo, 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 skiddy-doo. Doo-dah, doo-doo, doo-dah, doo-doo.
Hello, it's Saturday, which is our final day at Brynowen, Borth, and what I want to tell you about is last night's entertainment, because today we'll be headed out and I won't get anything filmed. But last night, oh my god, what I wouldn't have given to have my camera, because I didn't take it, because I looked at it and it was just like, where we had Georgina doing her Showtime again, singing her songs. And so we thought, well, we've already got that. And so I was like, well, I won't bother with it. I won't take my camera. And so we go there, and the first of the two sets of the like cabaret type thing was a magic show. And I was like, oh, interesting. And I was like, oh, I should have brought my camera. But anyway, we sat there and we're watching the show, and it's this guy called Jason Steele. And it's really cool because it's all timed to music and he doesn't say anything. But it got to audience participation, and the first one he went round and he was asking somebody to hold the end of a rope, and he chose a woman a few tables that way, and so she held it, and then he wrapped it round her and managed to get her up on stage. And it was one of those, it was like tons of like tricks while she was holding the rope, and sort of like making it longer than what it was, and like making it from one piece of like tying it in a knot and then pulling on it, and it was like one loop, and then having two loops in it, and you know, like pulling on them and getting it through the rope and stuff like that. And it was pretty cool. And at one point he had it round her neck, the rope, and then he pulled on it and it sort of popped out in front of it with a rose stuck in the middle of it, which I thought was really nice. And I was like, oh yeah. So when it came later that like the Mission Impossible theme was playing and he's looking for another audience participation and he chooses me, I was like, it'll be fine. I was there for the last one. And what I was actually, well, when I say I was there for the last one, it wasn't like anything over difficult or anything. And I was glad because there was no guillotine on stage, because if there's one trick I will never go up for, even though I know it's probably perfectly safe, the guillotine, I will never do it. So I go up on stage and the Mission Impossible music is playing, and so I go up and he says like, sit down on the chair, or well, he doesn't say anything, it's just all done with gestures. So I sit down on the chair and he gets a piece of tissue and he tears it in two and he gives one half to me, and I'm just like, okay, I'm sat here with half a piece of tissue. And then he goes like, he puts it out and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, no, it does it again, so I do it. And then we're stood there for a minute, both of us putting the tissue out. And so what he does is he tears his piece in two. So I think, well, I'll copy and tear my piece in two. He's like, okay. And does it again. And then it's into 4 pieces, into the 2 hands. And then he scrunches it up. I'm like, okay. And after every step, we're holding it out to the audience. It's all scrunched up and holding it up. And then he eats it, and I'm like, what? No, I don't want to eat it. And he's just like stood there staring at me like, go on. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And I was like, and then the hand comes out and stops me. He's like, no. And so, of course, the audience is laughing. And then he's like, just points to his mouth. So, like, gently put it in his mouth. Just like, if I put it in slightly, you can deal with the rest. And so he did that, and it's in his mouth. And then he started pulling it out, and it was one, like, piece of, like, white, like, tissue. Like, do you know when you roll it up into a piece of string? It was like that, and he's pulling it out. And so he gives it to me to hold, and it's getting really, really long, and then it turns green. And he walks across the front of it, and it's still being held, and it's really long, and then it turns orange. And he walks around the back of me, and it's still getting even longer. And then it turns pink, and he does it again. And by this point, I'm, like, he's gone around me twice. And then he's like, and then he gives me the 2 ends to hold it, and just like, yay! And the audience is clapping. And then, so I'm sat there holding these 2 pieces of things whilst he's walked off on the stage behind me. And then I hear, like, the music gets sinister, and the audience goes like, and I'm just like, something has just happened behind me that I'm not aware of. So holding these 2 pieces of rope, or string or twine, whatever, I look behind me, and he's revealing this box. And it's sort of a head-sized box with lots of holes in the side of it. And I'm just like, oh, yay. So I hold there, and he comes across, and he puts the box on my head. And the only thing he says to me for the entire thing is, hold on to the handle. So I'm holding onto the handle on the back of the bottom of the box. And he puts the back slot in, and as before the front one, I go, help. And then the front goes in, and then I'm in complete blackness. I have no idea what happened for the rest of the show. However, my friend who was sat at the table gave me the basic gist of it. Apparently, the first knife to go into the box was straight down. And I was completely unaware of this. And then there was another one on a diagonal angle. And then another one on that angle. So that's like 3 in the box, and I was just like holding onto it, completely unaware, my hands shaking slightly because I'm still holding the twine at the same time. And I'm just sat there like, I have no idea what's going on. Every now and again I just hear shink of like the blade sliding into, and I'm just like, oh no, please don't let anything go wrong. And then apparently what he did was he walked on stage with 1 more blade, and then went, and it was 5. So that's 5 more that go into the box. And he does it again on the other side. Comes out with 1 blade, and it's 5 more, and puts it in that side. So it had like 13 blades in it, and I'm just sat there with like clinging to this handle for dear life. And then apparently, I had no idea, at one point he lifts the front of the box off, and all they can see is blades. And so he takes the handle of a few of them and jiggles them to prove, yes, they are real blades. And it was at this point that like a little bit of light, and I could see just 1 blade about there, and I was like, oh dear, that's a blade. It's right in front of me. And I'm like, ah. It was a bit scary though, because there was one of them that like went back of my neck, and I felt it. I was like, oh. But anyway, he did that. Then he put the front back on, and he starts taking them all out again. And I'm still in black, like pitch black. I have no idea what's going on, and I was just like, eh. And then front comes off, back comes off, and my head is still in 1 piece with no little knife holes in it. And then he untangles me, and I stand up, and it's just, I was just like, oh my god, because I was only expecting, like, you know, hold a rope while I do this, or hold this piece of tissue, not here, sit down and have 13 knives put into your head. And I was just like, oh wow. Oh, but what I wouldn't have given to have my camera. Oh god. That. And before that show, they were doing the kids show, because on, like Friday, you get an influx of people who stay only for the weekend. So they could do the kids show, which they haven't been doing for the rest of the week. And they did one, and one of the little attractions on it is like, it's some old lady. They always say it's one of the troopers' grandma, and she'll like play a tune on the organ. But because it's like an old, like beach organ, you know, like you guys know what I'm on about. Anyway, it's one of those, it sounds strange. So it was one of those. you'd listen to it, and then he'd be like, and who recognises it? And the first one who puts their hand up or yells, me, on the dance floor gets chosen. But there was one of them, and nobody seemed to recognise it, and I was like, how is nobody getting this? And he was like, okay, then what about grown-ups? Do any of you recognise it? And he was just like, I was like, I'm not putting my hand up. No, I'm not doing it. And he was like, okay, we'll hear it for a second time, but if any of you grown-ups know it, be sure to wave your hands. And I'm like, oh, okay, then. So I sit there and I wave my hand up, and he's like, we've got a grown-up at the back there. And it was Suspicious Minds being played on a thing. And he was like, is it Suspicious Minds? And so, of course, she plays it and starts singing the lyrics to it. So I got myself a flag! Woo! And so for the whole night, I was just waving that around to all the songs. Oh, but I really wish I'd had a camera for that. Because it was just, it was so scary. But it was a really good evening. But anyway, I suppose that's all I'm going to get filmed for this section. Because we're headed out later on today. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and have a nice day.
Follow me! Ready? If you're a boy! If you're a boy, clap your hands! That's it! If you're a girl! If you're a girl, stomp your feet! Come on, get stomping! If you're a boy! If you're a boy, nod your head! Oh yeah! If you're a girl! If you're a girl, lift your shoulders! Get 'em up high! If you're a kid, dance around! Dance around! If you're a kid, dance around! Dance around and stop! Hold it still! That's right! Don't move! If you're a boy! It's hip hop! Girls, point your toes first in and out! And that will move you all about! Now raise your arms, swing them around, side to side, and up and down! Keep doing it! You got that right! This hip hop stuff is out of sight! And now, let's try a brand new thing in a while! Right now, let's sing! H to the I to the P, that's it! It's all here! H to the O to the P, that's hop! It's hip hop! Hands on your knees, now jump real small! It looks just like it's time! Jump left and right and all about! And keep your legs real wide and use your hands for attitude like a point or to pop! A wide hand means whatever, and an open hand means stop!
We're at the arcades, and there's this game called Keymaster. It's basically sort of like a grabbing thing where you gotta move it left and right, press the button to go up, and look at those on the bottom, like the Minecraft toys, like you gotta pay 20 quid for those. And it's 50p per turn. So I took 2. And I won myself a mushroom. Look how cute it is. Oh. It was either that or the creeper, but I thought the creeper, because we thought you'd have to get it through the hole and then push it all the way back, but it's not. It goes in and then turns itself around and gets hooked on the bottom and then pulls it out, which is awesome. Oh, I'm so happy considering I got it for £1 instead of like the 5 to 10. And that's where my footage actually ran out, like space on my phone. That's why it was so sudden stop, because it was literally like, no, you cannot film anymore. But whilst I was watching the show with Mushroom, I searched up how much this one would actually be, and it was anywhere between 15 and 20 quid. And I was like, I got it for 1. I was just, I have really bad luck when it comes to like the claw grabbing machines, so normally I'd never do them. But it's just, I took a chance and I was like, yes! So I was really happy to have won it. And I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and have a nice day.